Chelsea, they have beat Newcastle this past weekend. They beat Newcastle 3-1. They also take on Newcastle. Technically, since it's past midnight, it's today. Really, tomorrow. Technically, today they take on Newcastle again in the EFL Cup, round of 16 at St James's Park. This game in the Premier League was at Stamford Bridge. I discussed it a little bit on the second segment today. Really good win for Chelsea. They played some really, really good football. But the thing to answer now is Chelsea legitimately in the top four race? Will they finish into the top four? Enzo Maresca, he came out and said there's no pressure for Chelsea to reach the top four. He said he's under no pressure from Chelsea to secure that Champions League qualifications within the season. When he was at the news conference on Tuesday, he said, the club never mentioned to me about top four. They always mentioned to me the target was to build something important for the next 4 or 5 years. For sure, we work every day to reach something important. Pressure on the players? I don't think so, to be honest. If you go game by game, you can see yourself where you are in the moment. If you start to think about top 4 or top 6, you are thinking about June. And for me, it's too far. So clearly he doesn't feel like he's under any sort of pressure to be in the top 4, which I think it's fair, given that he is a new manager in the Premier League. This is his first time managing in the Premier League ever, and you're taking over a Chelsea team in your first season. To expect them to finish top 4 was a little hard, because when you have a new manager, it is a little bit of a reset. But look, as the season goes on, your levels will create expectation for yourself. And it's important to remember what we expected from this Chelsea team before this season. Of course, don't get me wrong about that, but I think it's fair to the expectations to increase throughout the season, because this is a Chelsea team that has invested a lot of money, a lot of capital to the squad. They have a lot of quality, not just in the starting 11, in the bench, just looking based on the transfer value. And yes, Maresca, he is a new manager, and he deserves patience and all that. And I don't think he should be chastised or anything if they don't reach the top 4. Don't get me wrong, and there should be no pressure to reach the top 4. But I think as time goes on, the expectations should continue to grow, because, look, they've been very, very impressive. And I tip my hat to Enzo Maresca, what he's been able to do with this Chelsea team, how there's a consistency about them, how they're able to attack, they're able to take advantage of space whenever it's provided, how they just look much more deadly on the counter, much more cutting edge. The timing of the runs from these Chelsea players just much better than what we've seen in the past, how they can take advantage of space, how they're much more clinical as well. They have that cutting edge. They're creating some real clear cut out opportunities, and they're taking advantage of the space when it's provided to them. And it's been absolutely brilliant. Now, Chelsea teams in the past, they've also been able to take advantage of the space when provided for them, but they have not been clinical. This team has been able to be clinical. When the opportunities come, they've been good. And a lot has to do with the what's the good way to do it? With the elevation of the play from Nicholas Jackson. I think he's been much better so far the last season. He's taken advantage when the opportunity have came, and I've been really, really pleased with his performances. 6 goals already so far this season. I think he's been pretty impressive. When the opportunities come, he's taken advantage of them. And last season, a lot of the goals that he scored have been, just pure and simple tap-ins. But this season, he's making those runs. He's finishing the one-on-ones. He's taking advantage of opportunities that come from set pieces. His build-up, his ability to build out a play, him being a connector. He's allowing plays to progress more. Then when he makes those runs in behind, this pace can be devastatingly difficult to deal with, and he's giving center backs nightmare. I've been really, really impressed with him. He's had some professional performances so far this season, and he's been much better than last season. He's been much, much better. And what Chelsea have done so far this season, how they sit in the standings, how much goals that they've scored this season is a direct reflection as well of Nicholas Jackson's elevation of play from last season, which maybe we were too harsh on him last season. This was a dude that, was coming into the Premier League for his first season, and it was always going to be a transition. But to be fair, there was a lot of just hard things to watch last season, not just with Nicholas Jackson, but with Chelsea. And yeah, I'm very impressed. I'm very, very impressed with this Chelsea team, and I think the progression has been much, much faster than what I expected. They lost to City and Liverpool, who are currently sitting first and second place. And in both games, there was some really positive signs as well that to take from both games. But you take away those two losses, or if you take away those two games against the first and second place team in the Premier League, they have 5 wins, 2 draws. They're playing some really excellent football. They've looked good so far in the Conference League as well, but that's I wouldn't say the Conference League is the highest level of competition. Of course, beating Panathinaikos 4-1 is not the most impressive, although you're doing it with the second unit. But there is still quality with this Chelsea team. You're looking at what makes this Chelsea team deadly is some of the players that haven't had the biggest impact so far this season is because they can't even get in. You have players like João Felix, who doesn't see the pitch at all against Newcastle. Jadon Sancho doesn't see the pitch. Enzo Fernandez, he was benched against Newcastle. Mikhailo Mudryk, he hasn't seen much football this season, period, because of the players ahead of him. This was a dude that came into Chelsea for 100 million. Christopher Nkunku, he hasn't been able to break into that starting 11. There's some quality in this pitch. This is a super team, and you look going forward, if they can develop that winning mentality, they have the quality, they have the depth on the bench to compete with a team like City. What City have been able to do, have a first and second unit that can compete. Chelsea are in the process of building that unit, having a first and second team that can compete. This is a Chelsea team that's experienced, that's only experience away from a potential title challenge within the next few seasons. There's no hesitation in my mind when I make such claims. When you have the depth that this Chelsea team has, when you're seeing the consistency they're developing so far this season, getting the results, getting the victories in games that they need to win, it's been completely and utter professional. I have to say I was a little skeptical of Enzo Maresca, but what he's done since he's come in, the performances, the results, how he carries himself in the post-game press conferences, the news conferences, everything about Chelsea so far this season has been professional. And in seasons in the past, it's been a little bit of a clown show, and it's been really hard to watch as a Chelsea fan. I wake up in the weekend mornings excited to watch Chelsea this season. I haven't said that. I couldn't say that many times the past 2 years. In fact, I really couldn't say that, period. And Enzo Maresca, he has a huge part of that, I have to say. And the elevation of these players as well. This is a Chelsea team that definitely can expect to finish in the top 4, and finishing in the top 4 will be difficult because the Premier League has some really, really good teams, and obviously City, Liverpool, Arsenal, they're almost locks. Aston Villa, that's gonna be a difficult team to finish ahead of. Brighton, I think Brighton, Nottingham Forest, I don't think that'll be much competition. I do worry about Tottenham because Tottenham, they do have that ability to play some really, really good football, and they have quality to compete with Chelsea. But with already a 4-point gap over Tottenham, and some of Tottenham's struggles this season, I don't think that they're, I don't know. I think they'll be up there, but I don't, will they be able to finish ahead of Chelsea? I don't know. But Aston Villa, that's the one. That would be difficult. Now, can playing in Europe throw Aston Villa off down the line, maybe. But as of right now, they've been dominant in Europe. They've been really good in the Premier League. They actually dropped points this weekend, but although they're still sitting in fourth place for a reason, that would be a good race. That would be a good race. But definitely, 1,000%, the question is not whether Chelsea will finish in the top four or not. I mean, if the question is whether it was will Chelsea finish in the top four, it's about 50-50. If I had to say, if I had to lock it in now, I'll probably say yes, but I'm definitely hesitant about it. But if the question is, can Chelsea finish in the top four? Well, absolutely they can. 100% unequivocally, this is a team that will compete for the top four and will definitely be there near the end of the season, in that race to finish in the top four. No doubts about that in my mind.